Look up the word crazy in the dictionary and you might just find an asterisk beside the definition that says, listen to the Subiquitous podcast featuring Sue Duffield and you'll find out what crazy means. Sue's travelogue journey of unfiltered stories, impossible miracles, and faith-filled fun will be revisited right here. So buckle up and let's get going with this humorous travelogue of an unfiltered saint, Subiquitous.
Part cliche and part classic game, Barrel of Monkeys does its best to live up to the promise, more fun than a barrel of monkeys. You know, created by Lakeside Toys in 1966, the game was conceptually simple but could take hours to master. And inside every barrel are 12 plastic monkeys with easily hooked S-shaped arms. And players try to hook all the monkeys together using only the first monkey to form one long chain. Now here's the rules for a barrel of monkeys. Dump monkeys onto table. Pick up one monkey by an arm. Hook other arm through a second monkey's arm. And continue making a chain. And your turn is over when a monkey is dropped. Now, in addition to these basic instructions, the barrel also contains instructions for playing alone or with 2 or more players. And for one player, time yourself for picking up all the 12 and try to beat yourself by the clock, I guess. Or for 2 or more players, each monkey left on a chain is 1 point, and the first player to get to 12 points wins. Now, ironically, during my childhood, my mother, of all people, was the master barrel of monkeys winner. She would kill us with her precision and ease. She'd say, don't ever let a monkey drop. Keep your eyes on that very last monkey, watching to grip the next one, and so on, she'd say. Well, funny how my supposed engineer wannabe dad could never get much past 5 in a row, and I think he tried way too hard. So if you are over 50, you would have known about this simple toy, right? Well, there's a whole new influx of this toy everywhere. In fact, I remember a Haitian orphan in Jeremy, Haiti, several years ago, handed me her singular monkey, and she insisted that its origins were from America's animated movie, Toy Story. And I patted her on the head, and I started to kind of instruct, and I said, that's true, but not really. It's a lot older than that. But she basically told me that I was the one who was out of touch, and she quickly became very skeptical of anything else I said later. It's hard to connect with this younger generation, Haitian or not, that has been indoctrinated with only current events and only Disney entertainment. Now, in my mind, I achieved a moral victory, but it was short-lived, and it wasn't enough to do a fist bump or a touchdown dance I craved to do at the time. The way I figured things, old age has to count for some sort of bona fide wisdom. This gray hair reminds me that I can speak with supreme authority about toy monkeys without any embarrassment. Sometimes God gives us a barrel of squirmy, tricky monkeys. He watches what we do with them. This barrel could be a marriage or child rearing, a job, sickness, addictions, physical or mental illnesses. There are a lot of barrels out there. You could easily triple this list and still need to add something. The antics of monkeys, their tricks and misbehaviors are well known. Barrels of monkeys are embarrassing. They throw their own feces, for God's sake, if you've ever been to the Bridgeton Zoo. They all are still from that elite masters of physical comedy in the animal kingdom. They are the Jay Lenos and the Robin Williams of the zoo. You can't subdue them except with a tranquilizing gun or some fermenting bananas. Monkey barrels are tough. We usually aren't steady enough or patient enough to play the game. And I submit it takes guts to play the whole barrel, and taking shortcuts violates some kind of rule somewhere. Our faith should steady us, but the barrel only baffles us. But I'll tell you what, the Spirit has come to assist us. You see, God's presence helps us get by every barrel and every chimp, but we have to ask for help first. I encourage you today to get desperate. These monkeys can be tamed, and you need to do this. Time is never the issue, but how you behave is the true evaluation. We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance. Romans 5, verse 3. So a writer on Instagram said this, "I have a barrel of monkeys. It's yellow. I don't really know the rules of the game, but my grandkids love it. And when I hang a monkey chain from the ceiling fan light, they laugh out loud. One monkey only has one hand, so guess what? He hangs last." Another influencer said this online, "This is great. As I do remember this simple little toy, I now can see my own barrels of monkeys that God has given me over the years. Some of them I would happily say, got kicked out. Others made me stay even though I wanted out." I could go on, and thank you for sharing and sorting out all this monkey business. It really has me thinking. Then on Twitter, talking about a barrel of monkeys, this person says, "Can you tell me why was it so much fun? There was nothing to this toy. I just watched Whoopi Goldberg present Mom's Mabley for the first time. She was hilarious, and the gal that I was with had no clue who she was. And what about My Three Sons and Chutes and Ladders and the Log Cabins logs? What about all that? And the rest of the toys? Do any of the children today even know who Davy Crockett is?" I could never understand the saying, "more fun than a barrel of monkeys," but it's starting to make sense. If you shove a barrel, a whiskey barrel, wine barrel, or a pickled fish barrel, whatever, full of monkeys, I'd assume that after a while it would start to, number one, smell the high heavens. Number two, it would be very chaotic. And number three, the monkeys wouldn't really take too kindly to being shoved into a barrel in the first place. So why is something more fun than a monkey full of barrels? That expression is first recorded sometime around 1895. But truthfully, it should be, what is more fun than a barrel full of monkeys? That's really what we're talking about. It's supposed to refer to the fact that monkeys are funny and cute. And some have pointed out that the barrel can also refer to a lot of laughter. So it's all about laughing at fun antics. Some say that over the years, the statement has become more used in an ironic sense. I've done it. In other words, even though someone says that something is as fun as a barrel full of monkeys, I think what they really meant to say, no, it's not actually fun. It's actually very annoying. And that's kind of confusing. But to tell you the truth, I use the phrase more so in the ironic sense and the sarcastic sense more than I do in the earlier kind of a sense. To me, a barrel full of monkeys is more chaotic and not as much fun and super silly. And when I use it, I usually mean that chaos is reigning supreme and I'm not having fun at all. Irony, it's not just for the hipsters anymore. So when things do get chaotic, what then do we do? When things become ironically as much fun as a barrel of monkeys, what do we do? And what's the spiritual side of dealing with chaos and life being so much fun as a barrel of monkeys? Well, guess what? I think it begins at the beginning. Genesis 1:1 and 2. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the face of the deep. Just this very image speaks of chaos and uncertainty. The whole idea of the earth being formless and empty And even void is a bit chaotic. The Hebrew makes it even more so with those strange words. And then there's darkness over the surface of the deep. The world was filled with chaos. But then we read, the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. In the very beginning, in the midst of all the chaos, God was there. Then, in subsequent verses, he begins to bring order to the world, and he merely speaks as it happens. He speaks and the world comes together. He speaks and with a word, the world begins. Wow. This isn't evolutionism or creationism as some would like to call it. This is just looking at the text and believing God for his word. And then it says, God rested. Wow. In the midst of things being ironically more fun than a barrel of monkeys, God brought all things together with just a word, and then he rested. He declared it all good. And then things got totally messed up when Adam and Eve decided to push God away and try to do things on their own. And life's been more fun than a barrel of monkeys ever since. So now there's anxiety, chaos, frustration, pain, hurt, broken lives, broken relationships with family and friends, with nature, with God, and it's all about as much fun as a barrel of monkeys. And then monkeys are starting to stink, and they get all frustrated. And from what I understand, there's nothing worse than a frustrated monkey that stinks. So what do we do when the barrel of monkeys is beyond what we can handle? Well, when the stench is unbearable, maybe, and when things are no longer ironically funny, we get rid of it all. And Peter writes, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. And then Paul writes, don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Philippians 4:6. So, Sue Duffield would say, seriously, get rid of it. Stop carrying around that irritating barrel of stinking monkeys. Come to Jesus. And in thankfulness, know that he's big enough, strong enough, and powerful enough to deal with it. Be in thankfulness that he is present and willing to allow you to cast your anxieties, your worries to him. And as in cast and lay down, just chuck it. Throw it at him with all of your might and lay it before him. A barrel of monkeys is not fun in the least, both in reference to something being fun or in being ironic and not being fun. It's confusing, and that's where the chaos enters. Frustration, hurt, pain, reality TV, and all the other ills of this world. Come out of the chaos to the God of order who spoke the world into existence and find rest in him from the anxieties and chaos and ditch that barrel of monkeys. Unless, of course, you're going to play with them with your mother, and then she'll win every time. Well, summer and the Subiquitous podcast is probably like a barrel of monkeys around here, simply because of jockeying the schedules and traveling and now building a townhouse in Rockville, Tennessee, a total God thing that I promise I'll share more explicitly on another episode. But in the meantime, thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your contributions that keep the Subiquitous podcast and Couch to Kitchen concerts and even our live events going and thriving. And we pray every single day for you and thank God that in some sort of crazy way, we all stay connected, much like a string of monkeys. Trust me, I'm not letting go. Get on SueDuffield.com today for contact information and ways to keep this barrel rolling around here. We love you, and we'll see you next time.